Hey guys, Mr. Mini Painter here with Harry Potter, the Boy Who Lived by Night Models. I really like this model because it's a version of Harry Potter who is not in the classic wizarding robes, but as one of the normal kids wearing regular clothing. This is one of the latest movies, I think. He's carrying the Horcrux, the part of the soul of Lord Voldemort, and we're going to paint him. So as you can see here, I primed my model in gray. I gave it a little zenithal highlight so the shades become visible, and from this point on we're going to turn him into the one you saw just a few seconds ago. Really excited to start painting this. So first I started with the face and I gave it a base coat of Bugman's Glow. In this tutorial I'm going to try to stick to the one part at a time. So first the skin, then the shirt, then the pants, etc. Let's give that a go. As a first highlight for the skin, I used Cadian Flesh Tone. I've recently, I think about half a year ago, started working with a wet palette, and it's really advisable to do so because the skin tends to get blotchy very quickly, and you do not want that. And this way you have very high control of your paint. Make sure to leave some Bugman Glow in the recesses to show the darker parts. And as a final highlight, I'm using Kislev Flesh. Use that on the fingers, the knuckles, tip of the nose, etc., where the light would normally show most. Now at this stage you can choose to do a wash of Reichland Flesh Shade and repaint the second or third layer or both. Again, with this model I decided not to. Now as an extreme highlight I did some Palette Witch Flesh on the knuckles and the very tip of the nose. And at this point I painted the eyes with Palette Witch Flesh and a blue dot inside. And from there on out we're moving on to the pants, and I'm using Stegadon Scale Green, which is strangely enough, a bluish color. And I thought it worked very nice for jeans. So I gave it a full coverage. If you notice that these layers are too thin, use it a second time. And for a first highlight, I'm using Thunderhawk Blue. And you can use it fairly thick because it's a first color variation. And if you want it to be more gradual, you can mix it with the previous color with some Stegadon to make it more in a more gradient scale. So you can do 2, 3, maybe 4 layers if you want. Build up your color. I'm using pure Thunderhawk for this layer, and you immediately see some nice folds. There you go. Now for the next part, I added some Palette Witch Flesh in about 50-50% ratio to create some highlights. Make sure to use very thin lines for this part. So keep making your lines thinner and thinner as you want to be able to see the differences. Pick out the parts where the light would shine. Or if you want, you can even have something like a damaged jeans, make some scratches. You should have something like this. Now for the shirt I used Night Lord's blue and I mixed it with some Elatic blue, and I gave the shirt a quick first coat. I'm a little out of focus here, sorry about that. I have to figure out how to properly do that. And as a highlight I used 1000 Suns blue for a first highlight of the shirt. And again, same as the trousers, I'm fairly roughly adding the raised areas where the light would fall upon. I chose my light source to be a bit high, so he's shining down on him like a sunshine. And so the parts that would be touched by the sun would reflect the most light, so that's where you want the lighter color to appear. You get some nice shaded recesses. Make sure to think about the collar around his neck, and there's some part on his back just below his coat. And again, as in the previous color, I'm mixing the 1000 Suns blue with some Palette Witch Flesh to brighten it and create some highlights. And you get a very nice color differentiation of blue, and it stands out quite nice to the pants. The pants are really jeans looking, and the shirt is more of a, well, also a bit of another tint of blue. You get some variation in your model. Make sure to touch the buttons to make them pop out. And this is starting to look quite nice. I'm very happy with this result so far. There is a very small part of shirt showing, which I used Word Bearer's red on and highlighted it again with some Palette Witch Flesh also to create a small highlight. Next, I give the jacket a base color of Corvus Black mixed with a small part of Thunderhawk Blue to create a nice dark blue mixture. We're later on going to darken that with another color, but I wanted to shine through a little bluish. So first give this a full coat. Take your time, maybe give it 2 layers if it's too shiny, and you should have something like this. Now let that dry, and afterwards give it a wash with a contrast paint, which creates a very nice effect. I used Black Legion for this. Black Legion is a bit of a transparent contrast paint, so you get a hint of blue through your colors. And I use it mainly on the recesses, but you can wash the entire model with it if you want. I here only put it on the folds in the jacket, so you get some shading effect. Next I used Thunderhawk Blue to highlight the edges of the jacket, to give also the jacket a bluish tint. Again, I'm a bit out of focus here, sorry. You get the idea. Well, it's sharper here. Just touch the very edges and use the side of your brush to create this effect. You can make some very thin lines and just touch the tops of the folds. For the hair, I used Corvus Black. It's like a matte black. I like it more than, for example, Abaddon Black. And it gives you the benefit of creating some shades. Before I'm applying some shade, I added some Administratum Gray to the Corvus Black to create some highlights. And again, use the side of your brush and stroke against the strands of the hair. So when the hair is going horizontal, you use your brush in a vertical position. Now, of course, you can shade this with Nuln Oil. Where would we be without the Nuln Oil? And this way you get some nice shades in the hair and highlights. The wand, I gave a base color of Rhinox Hide. You can basically use any kind of brown. I like the dark brown. I think it was closest to the ones that Harry has. Make sure at this stage not to touch the fingers because, well, you're done with those and otherwise you have to fix it. Now for a highlight I used some Mournfang brown, which is a lighter brown than the Rhinox, and you can create some highlights, highlight the tip. And the shoes I use a dried bark. And dried bark is also a brown tint but more of an earthy look. More like a greenish brown. I like this because it's more of a leathery effect, I think. And of course we're going to highlight these as well, and for that I used some Baneblade brown, which is slightly brighter and gives that nice sharp edge to your shoes. Now what is it? Is it called a Horcrux? I used a lead belcher on the chain. And for the inner part, I used the base color of Screaming Bell. You can use any coppery look if you want. It's only the front, the back is a silver look. And afterwards we're going to add some details to it. First we're highlighting the front and make it like it's shining and it has some edges, and I used some palette witch flesh to do so. And afterwards I painted the S of Slytherin in the locket. I used Caliban green for this, and take your time, use a very fine detail brush and create that very nice detail. An important detail, I think, on this model. It looks great. Of course we're going to be highlighting that as well. For that I used Warboss green. And what I tried to do is what I normally do in the opposite way. I start with a base and I add a second layer. Now I try to paint around it, which was quite difficult, so maybe you should turn this around. The locket I gave a wash of non-oil. Make sure to shape this nicely, and if you want you can give it a bluish glow. Maybe use some Drakenhof night shaders, something like that. For the glasses, be very, very, very careful. I used Abaddon Black because I wanted to have it to make them shine a little bit. And I wanted the color to be different than the hair. Or the jacket, for that part. Now the scar, I used Mephiston Red on. I think it's a very nice, bright red look. And you can paint that lightning bolt on his head. I used Retribution Armor on the Snitch. I found this a really nice detail on this model, to have the Snitch with him. So the gold base first, and the wings I touched with some lead belcher. We're going to be shading and highlighting those later on as well. Make sure to hit that because it's a metal wing. Put some lead belcher on it. And the cloud, or what do we call that? The whiff of air. I used some Aethermathic blue for that, which is a contrast paint. Of course, you can do it without a contrast paint as well. I like the bit of a ghostly effect that it creates. As I said before, I'm using Nuln Oil to shape the wings. And while I let that dry, I'm using some Celestra Gray to highlight some of the raised areas of the cloud. Is it a cloud? A whiff of air. You get something like this. And we're getting there. We're almost done. Now we're going to be highlighting that with Runefang Steel, and while you're at it you can also use Runefang Steel on the locket of the on the locket he's holding. if you want to create some extra highlights on the edges of the locket. Now on the Snitch I used Canoptek Alloy. You can give it a little wash if you want. Use some Reichland flash shade to make that gold look even stronger. Now for the base I used dried bark as a base color. Base color for the base. Make sure not to touch the shoes or any of your other previously painted parts. I then dry brushed some Ricard flesh on top of it. What I like about these pre-assembled models is that they also have a pre-assembled base, which looks quite nice. And this is like a nature look, uneven. I like it. And I used a palette witch flesh as a final highlight and applied some static grass or whatever you want to the base. Give the rim a color of your own and you're done. Thank you so much for watching this Harry Potter paint tutorial, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye bye!